I'll be sitting when the evening's done, watching the ships go in, and then to the sea. I will cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand.
Hello everybody, and welcome to today's video in this beautiful summer day in Copenhagen, Denmark. And what I want to do is to show you this cool little gadget here, which might be a very cool option for you. I didn't know that this thing even exists up until a few months ago, until I did some research, and this will expose you to it. And what it basically does, it gives you an option to add some rhythm to your performance and make it a lot more interesting. Now, before I'm even going to talk about it more, and we're going to make it divided into pros and cons, and it's going to be very clear to hopefully make it clear for you if you actually want it or not, I want to actually give you an overview of how it sounds like and the different sounds that you can get out of it. So let's move to the different camera. All right, so here's what we have here. That's how it looks like. Here's the back. This is where you put the batteries, 4 AA batteries. And this is the thing itself. Now, it's called SPD1 Kick. They also have different models with different sounds, but this is mostly for the sound of a kick. Most sounds are like a kick drum, and here's how it sounds like. So first of all, you have different sounds over here. That's where you control the different sounds. And for each sound, you think like there is 12 different sounds, but there are actually 24, because for each sound you can also click on the variation here, and in each number you get 2 different sounds. Now, a lot of them for me I found not very useful or practical, but some of my favorite sounds are indeed this one, the tambourine, which is exactly just like putting a tambourine on your foot, which sounds great. I like this kick sound when you're looking for an aggressive kick sound. You got a bunch of other kick sounds, and it depends. The sound can be much better when you're playing it outside of a fancier amp. This is the Roland Cube. You can play it out of a fancier amp or out of a fancier sound system, and it will sound better. Other favorite sounds of mine are this, which sounds a bit like a cajon with some percussion things on it. And then you also have this cymbal. And then I also really like the cross stick, which gives, in my opinion, a great sound. Now, another thing that you can do here is play around with the reverb. This is really way too much. I like putting just a little. You got the volume thing, and then you can also do tuning, which means that for each sound you can play around with tuning, for example, making it sound higher pitched. So you basically have a larger amount of sound in those 24, because you can play around with each one of them. Some of them just sound weird, so not very usable, but this is the thing by itself. Anyway, so at the beginning of the summer, I decided that I'm going to just go out, put myself out there while I was traveling in Australia and while I'm traveling in Europe. I'm going to get a busking amp, and I'm going to go and play in venues, and I'm going to go and do street performances and wherever it is, just get more experience in playing outside. And shortly after, there came a time where I was thinking, all right, how do I get the edge on my performance in making it more interesting than just someone playing with a guitar? And the first thing that I chose was to get a looper, which is a very common thing for people who perform solo. But then I also said, hey, I want to add some extra percussion. So that made me look into most of the stomp boxes that there are in the market. And this one really ended up as being the most versatile one because it has so many different sounds. You can control the reverb. For example, some of the stomp boxes I tried sounded great in the one single sound they had, which was, I might have been compromising on it, but then they didn't have a reverb, which for me is a no-go because it's just very, very dry. So I didn't like it. And some of them, they really just rely on you to have an amp with reverb, but not all amps have reverb. So I went with this one, and I have to say I'm very, very happy. Now, let's talk about some pros and cons, and we can go through it more clearly. All right, so the first positive thing about this, and the main thing really, is that this thing, while it's not easy to get used to it and to tap it on time, and it will take a few weeks of getting used to it and practicing it, this thing will definitely enhance your performance and let you add some more variety to the songs. For example, I like to only edit once. It's a fast boat. For example, I like to only edit once I get to the first chorus, and from there I can just pick it up, and usually I tap on the 2 and the 4 and the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It just adds a lot. This is the main thing, and I'm very happy with it. The second thing is the sounds, and I already mentioned it, but I think this thing has some really great sounds in it, at least some of them. Some of them, as I said, are not very usable, at least to me and to my style, but it sounds great, especially when it's plugged into a great system. The next thing is that it's very portable. You can just carry it around, and then basically, you have, instead of carrying, for example, a tambourine and then having to tap on the tambourine, that's all you have, and you have so many different sounds in it. And what also makes it portable is the fact that it can run on, let's turn it off, is the fact that it can run on batteries. So that means that you can take it anywhere with you and work with it. The thing is, and we're going to get to the cons in a moment, that the batteries don't last very long, about 5 hours I get out of them, but this is another thing that you should know. So while it is portable, it is going to eat up a lot of batteries. The next thing is that I think the price, while it's not cheap, definitely, it's $180. So I think that for what you get for this price and for this quality of level and quality of sounds and variety of sounds compared to other stomp boxes that I've seen, which are even more expensive, and usually you only get one sound in these stomp boxes. So this is a really good deal if this is the kind of thing that you're looking for. And the last thing is that it feels well built and solid, so you can use it a lot. Now it starts to rain, but I'm going to talk a bit about the cons before I get out of here and all of the things get wet. Alright, so as you can see, the rain won, and even though it's a beautiful day in Copenhagen, as in always in Europe, sometimes the rain can come and ruin some plans. Anyway, let's talk about the disadvantages of the SPD1 Kick and what leaves some things to be desired. First of all, the main thing is that it slides on most surfaces that you put it on. When you step on it, it constantly moves a bit forward, a bit forward, a bit forward, and away from your feet, and it gets pretty annoying. It's, especially on smooth surfaces. So the most common solution that I've had to this so far is just to put it right against the mic stand. But this is not a solution for always, because not always you're going to play with a mic stand. Maybe you're just playing instrumental. And I think that I'm going to try maybe taping something on the bottom of it or something like that. But I don't think it's cool that they just let it out of the factory like that without a sufficient solution. This is the first thing. Another con is that I mentioned it before, but it's not easy to get a hold of it, and I met another person who bought it and then just gave up on it after a few weeks. So make sure, especially if you were never into tapping your feet while you were playing, because a lot of people do it naturally. But if you don't, just be prepared that it's going to take some effort in order to get it into your system and to be able to play with it. All right, and this brings me to the next thing. And the next thing is that the color on the corners of it, this was just in my guitar case, but the color is starting to slowly wear off. You can see it on the corners. So this is something that I wish they would have done better and made it in a more durable way. I think the pedal itself is very durable. It's built well, but the color could have been better made. And another thing which I already mentioned is that the batteries, I wish they would have lasted longer, especially since it's 4 batteries. So I really wish they would have lasted longer than those, about 4 or 5 hours that I can get out of each set of 4. And the last thing that you should be ready for, while this is not specific for this specific machine, but really for any stomp box, is that it can get pretty tiring on the leg, especially when you are playing a song where you don't just tap on the 1, 2, 3, 4, but when you tap on everything, not just on the 2 and the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's not very common because on most songs you wouldn't want to do it, but on some songs, like for example Follow the Sun, I really like doing that. So just take into account it's going to get tiring, but what you can do as a solution is to just use the other leg, switch between the legs. So that would make it easier. Anyway, I think this is it. That's what I have to say on this cool little gadget. The bottom line is that I really like it and I recommend it. And if you want to make your performances more interesting, check it out. Have a good day. Goodbye. Thank you for watching.